And we are live. Welcome to the Rome Show. I'm your host, Cole Rome. I got a special guest, Dorian. How you doing?
Doing amazing. This has been the craziest start to my week ever, and I'm really excited and honored to be here.
Absolutely. I see you do your thing. I appreciate you for coming on the podcast.
Yes, sir. Yeah, on Sunday, I just found out that I won my first ever Emmy for my film Pauline and Me, and then my two other documentaries, Sketching the Dream and Red, White, and True, received honorable mentions. So I just announced it yesterday, and just been like an outpouring of love and support, and just been like a lot of feedback on the overall experience.
Right. Congrats on that. That's some big things right there.
Thank you so much. It's been a long time coming. Those films took a minute to to put together, and it took a lot of trial and tribulations. But I'm happy that people were able to watch it, and they've been receptive to it as well.
And since you brought that up, um, you're a film director, producer, artist. You do a couple
Yes,
of things, right?
yes, sir. Not only am I a film director and producer, which by the way, I've only been making documentaries for 2 years now, which is kind of crazy, but I'm also a musician. I'm a music producer. I have three albums out: Albany, Neon, and my most recent one, Portraits, that came out in September. Um, and I do a multitude of genres. I do hip hop, R&B, electronic, dance. I try to fuse all my influences and inspirations together, and try to bring the best underground artists together, put together a solid body of work for people to to groove to. Um, and I find that my work with music and film and now television, which I'll get into in a bit, now intersect quite a bit because I use the same creative technique that I use for directing a documentary to orchestrating an entire 10 track LP for for people to listen to. So it just requires the same amount of detail, even though it's a different art form. But um, I love both art forms equally though.
Super fire. And since you got all those things going on, let's take it back a little bit. Like, what's your story? Where did your journey start in like arts? Like, how did it really begin? And what first pulled you into the creative world?
Yeah, for sure. I knew I wanted to be a director at the age of like 5. I say this all the time. I When I watched The Dark Knight for the first time, I was 5 years old, went to the movies, saw that opening scene with the Joker, and I was like, you know what, I want to recreate that. So whether that would be like having my own action figures growing up and like making my own scenes, to getting my first smartphone, to doing vlogs on YouTube. I always have that DNA, that creative DNA within me. And growing up, I still live here. I'll be here for the next month, but growing up in a diverse city like Bridgeport, I am surrounded by a lot of different backgrounds. I am Black and Puerto Rican myself, and I grew up around a lot of Hispanic and a majority Black family and white people. It's just like a lot of different cultures that I was inspired by, and seeing all the murals and art. Really shaped it was ingrained in my DNA at a very young age. So when I got to college and started working on really professional, because I had like the best like professors that really brought the best out of all of us. When I really started to really put together professional work, such as documentary films, such as the commercials I would do, I really took all those experiences growing up and kind of used that to be okay. This is my style. When I worked on my first documentary immersion, I didn't really work on a. I've never worked on a documentary film before, but it wasn't until when we went to New Hampshire for that week when we were filming the whole experience where I really looked back. I was like, wait, look, I do have experience doing this. I was doing those vlogs all those years when I was like age 14, and I was doing trick shot videos or basketball, or I was doing tech reviews and stuff like that. I always had like that instilled in me. So and even my friends saw it too. It just took a while for me to actually express that within the film medium, but That's really how I got started. I continue to reinvent myself with every project, because I'm always, as an artist, you're always still trying to discover yourself as well.
Good one, good one. And what was the moment for you where you said to yourself, "This isn't just like a passion or like something you want to do. This is what I'm meant to do, and I'm gonna do it."
Yeah, I'd say it's somewhere around like the beginning of college, somewhere between like freshman and sophomore year, because I'd say during high school I took like a break from the arts, I should say. Like I picked up a trade. Wasn't really I was passionate about, but by the time I got back into the arts in college and I was doing projects on the side at home, um, it became like that obsessive kind of thing where I can't go to sleep because I keep thinking about, okay, how am I gonna put this music video together for this song? How is it like who fit perfectly within this pocket, within this BPM of a beat? Who would be the perfect writer for this, for this film I'm trying to put together? So it's just something like I just always thought about. So I use it at first. It was be like a negative, like I can't sleep, I'm going crazy, I can't do my class work. But then it became a superpower to where I can use this obsession to actually put like to make my projects that much better, and things like outside of the arts as well. A lot of my work has to do with like social justice activist type of thing. So when I would take classes and when I would have just even conversations with people in the real world talking about these things, I'm like jotting like mental notes and physical notes at the same time and trying to become a better version of myself through that.
Right. And you always that's a good thing to always try to better yourself too.
Yeah, for sure. And through my work, it's I'd say like half of my work is about the coming of age type of story and just betting yourself and finding yourself as well. Um, and I'd say that my work as a filmmaker primarily is for I guess at this stage more for people like my age who are still trying to figure themselves out. For example, like the film Pauline and Me, it's about my grandmother's upbringing in Savannah, in Georgia during the 1950s and 60s before she moved up here. And I'm talking about my experience living and growing up in Bridgeport. And so how we're trying to intertwine those two, whether it be we're missing what we had physically down in Georgia to, what I missed mentally growing up. And then by the end of the film, I'm pretty much saying, hey, like, this is where we are. I'm kind of accepting, yeah, I'm looking forward positively type of thing. So and there's another film, an animated film called Sketching the Dream, where I document this Latino filmmaker who wants to make it big, wants to make his mother proud, but he doesn't know how to get there. So we're kind of telling that story of, okay, how do you find yourself as you're not proud of the work you've done yet. You're still discovering yourself as, a Latino in today's climate. You're still trying to find your artistic prowess. Like you're still trying to figure a lot of things out. Like how do we get there? So that's really the overall theme of the films that I make, and plus some subliminal messaging about the climate of the world right now too. But I really try to like get all that messaging across within like a short period of time so people have like a bite-sized palatable experience.
Right. And that's super dope. You mentioned that the movie you created to be able to think about it and do something about like your grandma and yourself and put it together. Um, how do you feel that you were able to actually create that? Because that's super fire.
Yeah, it's so weird because initially when I thought of the film, it was just going to be about her. Like the documentary when we went to New Hampshire, that was just about the experience about this class that went to New Hampshire. We got hired to do it. I documented that whole experience of this class, and we met like political leaders and candidates at the time. That was more so about them. I had never done anything about me, particularly in working on a film on that stage was brand new to me. So it took a while for me to open up about like my experience and about my life and what I've had to deal with. So, um, but once I got around to it and knew that okay, this is the right road to go, I felt that the story would um, would drastically improve. And I felt that there was a lot more to say, considering that my grandma and I still live together right now. So we just talk about this stuff like all the time. The main reason why we even wanted to make the film is because didn't know much about her upbringing in Georgia at that time. Um, and she would drop tidbits here and there, during lunch or just during conversations or family gatherings, but she never went that much into it. So I sat her down for an interview, and then when I got time to write my voiceover, I didn't know what to say, because I'd never done this before, but she was very supportive of me throughout, and I'm glad that the film came out to be where it was, because it felt like therapy at the end of the day, and that's why I got out of it.
You know, did you guys sit down and watch it together?
Yeah, so for the film premiere, it premiered last April, upstate, and it's funny because when you're editing, because I edit my own films too most of the time. When you're editing the film, like you kind of become like not detached, but you're not getting that like a second person like next to you, like kind of like fresh eyes and ears type of thing. So when I'm watching in a theater with everybody that's maybe like 100, 200 people that are watching it for the first time, and there's a scene in the middle of the film where the tone just completely switches, I just felt like everybody is just like their vibe just completely changed. So it was a very emotional experience by the end of it, but I felt that we found out more about each other, and I feel like more people knew about me and my grandmother because of that film, and I feel like people gravitated towards that as well. A lot of things we talked about in that film is very relatable. Talking about gun violence, like surviving gun violence and a tumultuous city, especially during the 70s and 80s. Loss of family members, relatives, missing childhood. Like it's a lot of things that we're talking about, and a lot of things are still open wounds. So I definitely felt that was an emotional experience, but again, it felt like therapy at the end of the day. And if people can get anything out of it, I just hope they feel a sense of belonging with that film as well.
Super fire. You got a feature project on PBS, the movie you were talking about, Sketching the Dream.
Yes, sir. So that's one of the 3 films I directed last year that were featured on PBS. It's Paulina Me, the film I was just talking about, Red, White, and True, a film about the Japanese internment camps during World War II, and Sketching the Dream. Sketching the Dream is about that Latino filmmaker, Brandon, who wants to make it big. And it's so crazy how that project even came to be. I can go on and on about the pre-production process, but when we finally decided, hey, we're gonna do a documentary about your life, he was more than happy to open up about it. And it's funny because the first few minutes of the documentary, he says, hey, I don't even think I'm even worth a documentary because nothing, like my life's boring. But when me and my executive producer Oscar, we were putting together like the paper cut for the film. We're trying to figure out what the actual story is, because me and Brandon sat down for like a 3-hour interview. By the way, directors do not do this, but usually like I have like questions and I kind of like just go off of vibes from there. With Brandon, since he was like already a friend, I didn't have any questions. Like I purposely did not have any questions, so the conversation would be more natural. So the paper cut, we would have to like go through pages and pages and pages of lines to try to piece together a story. And then we figured out, I'm like, wait, he's actually talking about his identity as a Latino in America in Stamford, Connecticut at that, especially being half Dominican, half Guatemalan. And he really wants to be a prominent, successful director or filmmaker. But how do you get there? And I while in that process, I look back to that whole conversation, and he kept dropping tidbits to where, oh yeah, he is talking about that. So since we, got that story underway, we brought together our super talented artist and animator, Michael, and we had the idea to make it half animated. So every time you saw his face for the sit down interview, he'll be in a sketch animation, because the film is called Sketching the Dream. He wants to make it big, but it's not there yet. So it's still an idea. So every time he talks about where he wants to be, how many Oscars he wants to win, where he wants his film to be premiered, it'll be a visualizations of, okay, how do of what it possibly can be. So that experience was really fun. Stressful but really fun. And it was only a 3-week process of even putting that together, which is crazy. But um, I'm really proud of that film. That's one of my proudest works, I should say.
Super fire. And so you do like cartoons and animation movies too?
Yeah, well, it's funny because so I'm not like an artist or animator. I have tons of friends that are really good at that. They're like amazing at that. They're gods at that. I just have ideas and I just know how to put, a story together. That's me. And if I'm able to put together the best storyboard artists, the best animators, the best artists together and put together a cohesive story, that's really the most important thing. But I am actively working on more media that has art and animation integrated. And what I did want to say is that I'm working on a new documentary right now about the topic of immigration. And I have the idea to put a lot of animation aspects in that as well. Um, so that's like a really big aspect and DNA for my art now, because that I felt like with sketching the dream, like I cracked the code type of thing. And I feel like we can get really creative with that, and we can play with a lot of different aspects of, okay, we can do this, we can change the art style here, we can edit this way type of thing. But we're still in pre-production with that. It's just myself and my girlfriend that are producing that right now. But yeah, we're in the process.
Super fire. Um, what's been one of the biggest challenges you have faced in your journey so far, and how did it push you through?
Oof. Um, I'd say graduating college last year and then transitioning over to television. I wouldn't say it was difficult, but it was a complete change because I come from an independent film background. I am the conductor, I am the director. I pretty much run the set. But television, it's more structured. You have your entire production company you have to deal with, but within that production company, you have teams within that. So right now, I work at ITV America. So when I go into office, I work in the casting department. So there's specific teams working on different shows. So I could be working on Hell's Kitchen with like 5 people, and there's another group of people that are working on Love Island type of thing. Um, so there's a lot of different dynamics and aspects you got to deal with. You got to deal with whatever network you're working with, whether it be NBC, Fox, Bravo, Apple, whatever. So there's a lot of things I had to learn along the way throughout that first year. And I had the honor of just going through every single department and just being a student again. That's what I really miss. Just being a student, just relearning how to create art, not content, and that's like a really big thing for me. Because how do I make the best story and also make it profitable? That's like a big thing for me now. Try to get it to wider audience. And that just reframed like how I just thought about the industry as well. I just gained so much industry insight, and now that I'm a year in working on some of the biggest shows in the country, I gained a new perspective, and now I feel like I can go back to what I do as a filmmaker in my own right, and even as a musician, and kind of apply those skill sets, given that I have this newfound experience and this skill set.
It's big things, big things. What's one thing so far in your career that you like kind of blew your own mind away? Like, wow, I actually did this.
Look, so for portraits specifically, this is like crazy, right? So I had no plans to drop an album last year, because I was just look, I just graduated college. I just dropped 3 films plus producing another film about the education system in Bridgeport. I so 4 films plus 3 commercials I did last year, plus all the shows I've been doing for work. So I'm just like, I'm focusing on that. Like I just want to do the festival circuit. I'm just going to travel. I'm just going to live life. I had this conversation while I was in New York with my friend Bushra, and she found out like she just found out I made music somehow, and I had no plans to drop it out. My last one was in 2023, and she was like, "Look, I love your music and everything. Like, yeah, are you dropping music soon?" And I genuinely had no plans. That sparked something in me, man, and I didn't realize it, but just going to all these clubs, parties, just experiencing life more, going out, meeting new people. That gave me more energy to put a new body of work together. So my album Portraits is a lot more dance, electronic, um, heavy. I don't completely ditch the hip hop R&B. There's still like a lot of that. There's rap in there, but I integrate a lot more elements of what I was listening to at the time and what I was experiencing, what I was surrounded by. And I made that album in 2 weeks. I made the album in 2 weeks. Um, Putting together artists such as Morgan Gold, Seth Sudge, Reed Starks, Dylan Hammock, Nicholas Soul, um, just like everybody, Ecstasy. I put everybody in that album to kind of like shape the sound. And by the end of it, I was like, there's no way I made this. This is better than the album I spent 4 years on. you know, like this is like insane. And I didn't realize how much better I got producing too, because I was away from my keyboards for months. Like I had not worked on anything. I wasn't sending beats to anybody, but it was because I experienced life more. And this is the kind of, I guess, is kind of like the point I'm trying to make, that just experiencing life more, just meeting new people, traveling. Um, Sometimes like you got to be away from the camera or keyboards. But when you come back, you'll be a lot more seasoned. You'll be a lot more experienced. You have more of a story to say.
That's a good point right there. Um, what's one thing that you haven't done yet that you want to do with your brand?
That's a good one. Um, Man, I don't want to. Okay, so I am working on a new album. And the I want to do like a rock, hip hop, electronic fusion, and I have a specific way I want to do it. And I'm working on it every single day. Um, I'm still working on it. I don't know if my brain is there yet. I might have to like hone my craft more, but that is like the exact sound I'm trying to go for with this next album. That I'm trying to drop in the middle of summer. So um, besides that new album, I would really love to sculpt, uh, because I look at some of my favorite artists back in like the 1500s, 1600s. Even today. Um, it's just like they know how to do it. They can paint, they can sculpt, they can do everything. I just want to sculpt. Like if I can sculpt, I'd be like unstoppable, Like I would just like ditch everything. I would just sculpt for the rest of my life. Like that's like the coolest thing to me. And paint too, but like sculpting is like it's there forever, type of thing. So besides new album, it'll be sculpting for me.
Good one. I got a couple more. For anyone out there trying to step into, their creative path, what's one real piece of advice that you got for them that you would tell them, like, you just got to do this?
Yeah, look, we're in 2026. There's nothing stopping you. Like everybody has an iPhone, everybody has a smartphone, everybody has a laptop. We all have YouTube. There's really nothing stopping you nowadays. So if you have an idea, if you have a story to tell, just go for it. 100% of the time, it's going to be bad. Everybody starts off making terrible art slash content. Everybody just starts off bad. But it's not about that. It's about constantly improving. If I could be a better cinematographer, like, dude, but I'm not, I'm a director. So I'm trying to make the best story possible. I'm trying to make the best films possible. It's all about just constantly improving and just getting your story out there. Um, so you can look back at some of your earlier work and say, hey, this is how far I've come. Um, and this you can ask for your friends for critique, you can ask your parents, you can ask if you're in college, your professor or whatever, but just go for it. Just go for it. It can be as bad as, look, there's nothing to lose. Like there's a billion people out there that want to be content creators. Why can't you?
Good one. Well, I appreciate you for coming on the podcast. You got a lot of big things going on. Where can they find your latest projects at?
Yeah, so Pauline and Me, Sketching the Dream, and Red, White, and Churro are now streaming on PBS. You can catch Guardians of the Future on YouTube. Um, we are now casting for Alone season 14. So on History Channel. So if you have anybody that's a great survivalist and is a camper, wilderness explorer, shoot me a text, shoot me a DM. I'll put you in contact with our team, and we'll see where we go there. Once again, I am dropping a new album in this year, in the middle of summer, and you can catch me on social media at Wolf Hill Dorian on Instagram. Dorian Robinson on LinkedIn, and you can catch my website, dorian/robinson.com.
Yes, sir. Tapping with my guy. And you said you work for Survivor.
I work for Alone. It's a show where you so it kind of is like Survivor, but like not really. So we drop 10 contestants in the middle of the wilderness, give them a camera and tell them to figure it out, basically. So I'm part of the casting team for that show. We're talking to new people every day and try to see who will be a great fit for the show. And it's been great. I can't disclose too much, but this season is going to be one of our best seasons ever. And yeah, the person who could make it the farthest wins $250,000, and yeah, it's a lot of money. So
Yeah. So if you think you up to it, contact my guy right here.
yes, sir. We're also I'm not gonna disclose too much, but we're casting for other shows too. So be on the lookout.
That's right, definitely. Maybe we could do a part 2 soon.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm working on I'm talking to new people every day. I'm working on a new project every day. There's always something to discuss. My life, like my current like creative journey is like never ending. I'm never bored. Like every time I go into the office, like I always have something to do. There's always like I'm talking to like 3 or 4 people every day trying to get on the show. I'm taking pitch meetings for documentaries. I'm making new beats for a new album. Like I'm just like constantly creating. So I'm this is a really exciting chapter in my life right now.
Grinding. How old are you?
I'm 22 years old. I'm turning 23 in May.
Yeah, keep going, bro. You're on the right path.
Thank you. I'm keep going.
Absolutely. And I'll keep in touch. We do a part 2 soon.
Yes, sir. Yes, we will. Just hit my line whenever. I'm down.
All right, bro. Take care.
You too. Appreciate it.
All right. Peace.